Well, when we had President Biden, he didn't do nothing for us. Everything went up. It was war. He never did anything for us.
What did President Trump do for you?
Oh, President Trump stopped the war. He helped the people. He did.
What war did he stop?
Huh?
What war did he stop?
Oh, he give us money, help the people. He helped everybody. He did a lot for the community, a lot for the world, a lot for everybody.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the wide world of American politics and economics. Now, imagine this. You spend years waving the MAGA flag high, proudly chanting, "Buy American," and putting your trust in a man who promised to protect American farmers and ranchers. And then, boom, out of nowhere, you find out he is importing Argentinian beef. Yeah, that's not the smell of a good steak on grill. That's the smell of betrayal sizzling in the air. Let's unpack the juicy political steak together.
President Trump plans to flood the beef market with beef from Argentina to help combat the high beef prices here in the United States. Let me tell you why that is a bad idea. For one, the first time in decades, the farmer and rancher is able to finally turn a decent profit and put that money back into their farm and ranch and help keep their ranches alive. Second, if we cheapen American beef, we're going to fall back into the same trend that we were 4, 5, 6 years ago, where we're losing 10 to 20,000 American ranchers every single year. Why would somebody try to continue on a ranch or pass it down to their kids? Why would their kids want to run a ranch that's not even able to make a decent living? And third, a lot of these people are the ones that voted for you. What happened to the America First policy, taking care of the American ranchers and the American people first before anybody else? Now, I'm not saying imports are bad, but flooding the market and making it worse for the American ranchers is not the way to go about this. How do we get the cost of beef down? We got to get the cost of production down for the American ranchers. I'm interested to see what y'all think about this. Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, guys, buy American, buy local, and God bless.
My question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as
Look,
they are?
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can, but don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
That may be true, but President Trump, I say this with the utmost respect, what the hell are you doing? Cutting a deal to help Argentina and their ranchers by flooding our market with their beef is not America first. In fact, it's so far from America first, it makes my stomach turn. This is a kick to the balls and a knife in the back of our American ranchers, and there's no other way to put it. Are beef prices high? Yeah. Are American ranchers seeing all the benefit of that? No. They're barely staying operational as is. The answer to lowering beef prices is not to flood the market with cheap from Argentina. I don't care how much you like their president. Our American ranchers are already being severely undercut by the greedy meat packers who import cheap foreign beef. Also, because most of our lawmakers are impotent, they refuse to pass country of origin labeling, so our American ranchers are unable to differentiate their superior products from these cheap foreign imports. And you want to make it worse? Flooding the market with Argentine beef is not America first. What this is a giant gift to the greedy meat packers who already screw over our American ranchers by importing foreign beef and passing it off as product of USA. Again, due to the fact we do not have country of origin labeling laws. This move is no different than importing cheap from China and undercutting American producers and workers. It's an abomination. Under the same logic, we should scrap all the tariffs, import the cheapest from everywhere else on planet Earth, and then hire illegal aliens who will work for less. Sound good? I don't think so. So why do it to the American rancher? American ranchers always get screwed over. They don't have big money lobbyists fighting for them. They don't get the subsidies. They don't get the bailouts. The meat packers, on the other hand, well, they have some of the most powerful lobbyists in the entire world. The American ranchers who just want to work hard, put out a great product to feed Americans are always the ones to take it on the chin. This model of importing meat from other countries isn't new, by the way. We've been flooding the market with cheap foreign beef for a decade. You know what that does to our American ranchers? It kills them. So now we hear about this herd shortage. Well, no Sherlock, this jacked up system has all but run our ranchers out of business by importing cheap foreign meat and undercutting the American rancher to the point of barely being able to break even. And now the ones that are still hanging on by a thread are going to be completely decimated with this latest endeavor to import even more foreign meat. This is an absolute disgrace, a stab in the back, a complete betrayal of the American cattleman. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
So Donald Trump promised he was going to bring prices down at the grocery store. I don't know about you, but that hasn't exactly happened in my hometown. But what has happened is the price of beef has gone through the roof. And part of the reason has been because of the tariffs, so a lot of their production costs has gone up. So that means the price gets passed on to you and I. So now beef is at pretty high prices, and Trump's solution is to flood the market with beef from Argentina. How's that America First working out for you?
Well, first and foremost, we're not supportive of what the president is pitching.
And one of the things we're thinking about doing is beef from Argentina.
And we're extremely disappointed in the comments that he did make. We're hearing from producers who voted for President Trump and now basically are feeling attacked by the very guy they voted for. And there is that sense of betrayal out there. And I think the president needs to understand that. We've made that very clear in the conversations we've had, that this is not just about the marketplace, but it is about the overall reputation of the administration, because he has not taken the time to sit down and really understand how beef pricing works, the economics of this industry. And we made it very clear we're willing to sit down and have that conversation with him. But as you have mentioned, this is not just about how prices will react in the future. It's about how we have already been hit as an industry, whether it's the president, whether it's the Secretary of Agriculture. I don't think there's an awareness that even the most innocuous of a comment, even if it's just a passing comment, can have significant ramifications on the cattle markets. We've also had longstanding concerns regarding foreign animal diseases and what's really going on the ground in Argentina. Foot and mouth disease virus can travel on fresh and frozen product. We're asking members of Congress that are friends of ours to also call the president or text the president and let him understand what he's done to hurt us as cattle producers.
On Thursday, October 23rd, the Trump administration announced it will quadruple the tariff rate quota for Argentine beef to 80,000 metric tons, allowing more imports at lower tariffs. The move aims to reduce U.S. beef prices driven by tight cattle supplies and strong demand. However, the decision is not sitting well with U.S. cattle producers, who argue that increased imports threaten domestic producers and will not have an impact on beef prices.
This could be 80,000 metric tons, which is roughly about 176 million pounds of beef. But there's also additional monies that he apparently has committed to help Argentina. There were some great statistics out today that we saw where if Argentina took all of the beef that they typically export around the world and sent 100% of it to the United States, that would only add about 2.5% to the U.S. beef supply. That is not enough to bring the consumer price down. And more importantly, it's not the same quality as our product. So here we are as producers taking the financial hit on a plan that is not going to bring down prices. And as a result, he's told us to just simply take lower prices.
This is a developing story that we will continue to track right here on the Western Ag Network.
Hey everybody, it's Will from the Back 40, and boy did my video about beef coming in from Argentina raise a lot of questions. I'm going to try to do a deeper dive today about the impacts. Now, you've probably heard the headlines: Trump administration expands beef imports from Argentina to help bring prices down. It sounds simple. Increase supply, lower prices, right? But if you talk to American cattle ranchers and ag economists like I did this week, they'll tell you this plan misses the real issue. The biggest problem isn't how much beef comes from overseas. It's what's happening inside the USA beef market itself when this beef comes in. The White House says the U.S. will begin allowing more beef imports from Argentina, about 4 times more in the beginning. These imports are mainly lean trimmings used in ground beef, not ribeyes, not sirloins. Agriculture economists that I talked to this week pointed out that even if we doubled imports, it wouldn't do much to change what consumers pay for beef in the grocery store. Now, the question is why? because the pricing bottleneck in the beef industry isn't just about supply. It's about who controls the middle of the system. That's a very important thing we all need to remember as consumers. 4 corporations dominate beef processing in the United States: Tyson Foods, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef. And they control 85% of the marketplace. That means they decide what ranchers get paid, and they influence what you pay at the grocery store. Okay? Remember that going forward in this video. When these companies face less competition, they can push ranchers to accept lower prices for cattle while still charging consumers high prices for meat in the grocery store. So even when beef prices rise at the checkout line, it doesn't always mean that ranchers and farmers are getting a commensurate increase in the amount that they're getting paid for their beef. Yes, beef prices have gone up at the auction house, but not commensurate to prices at the grocery store. Ranchers call it a price squeeze. So do ag economists. Their costs, feed, fuel, and equipment, have gone up, but what they get per pound of live cattle hasn't kept pace at the same rate. And since the big packers dominate the bidding, there's little room to negotiate. Now you throw in a flood of imported beef, which is cheaper because beef raised overseas is less expensive. And the leverage tips even more against the small producer. Imports become another tool for packers to drive down domestic prices, not to help consumers, but to pad profits, because that additional beef they're allowed to buy overseas is less expensive coming into their production facility than the beef raised by Americans. So that's why so many ranchers, including some who supported Trump, are frustrated with the plan. They say it doesn't fix the broken structure of the market. It just helps the same companies that already control it. And that's true. It gives them additional resources of cheaper beef outside the United States. Now, one Oklahoma rancher quoted in a Fox News piece said, "The issue isn't Argentina, it's monopoly power here at home." And he's right. If 4 companies control nearly everything from slaughter to packaging to distribution, importing more beef doesn't increase competition. It just gives these same 4 companies more and cheaper product to run through their plants. Now, America's cattle herd, and I've said this multiple times, is now at its lowest level in 70 years. Ranchers cut back because of drought mainly, but also because of high feed prices and thin profit margins before the current increases. It takes years to rebuild a herd. So the administration's claim that we can fill the gap instantly with imports, well, that's not a real solution. It's a short-term Band-Aid on a long-term problem. Now, there are solutions being discussed, and I've talked about these in multiple videos over the last year. There's the Prime Act, for instance, which would allow smaller state-inspected processors to sell across state lines. That would give ranchers and farmers more options for where to take their cattle and create more competition in the supply chain. Right now, many small processors can only sell within their own state, which limits growth and drives consolidation even further toward the Big Four. Now, these changes that the Trump administration's making, as I mentioned in my beef plan video, don't address the inability to sell over state lines. More regional and local processing means more resilience. It means consumers can buy meat that's local, traceable, and fairly priced, and ranchers get to keep a bigger share of the dollar than when they just sell their beef at the big auction houses and send them off into the big beef pipeline. So when the administration says it's helping consumers by importing more beef, that's only half the story. Sure, it might make it easier to buy cheaper hamburger if the packers decide to pass the savings along, but it keeps driving small ranchers and farms out of business. So what happens next? We lose independent producers, rural jobs, and local food security, all while these big processors grow even more powerful. That's not helping American agriculture. That is siloing it, and that is hollowing it out even more as we have in other areas of farm production. There's also the question of transparency. Labeling laws right now and in the new Trump plan have been watered down over the years. So when you see product of USA on a package, that meat could have been from cattle born and raised outside another country as long as it was processed here in the United States. That's misleading for consumers who want to support American ranchers and know where their food comes from. Under the new Trump plan, it could still be the same way. Processed here means American, and we all know that's not true. Several farm organizations are pushing for country of label origin. I've been pushing for this for years through Highlander political strategies so that consumers can make an honest choice. That's another step that this plan ignores. Now, at the end of the day, this isn't just about politics. It's about fairness and sustainability in a vital American industry. Beef isn't just another commodity. It's tied to rural communities, family farms, and an entire way of life. And yes, it's okay to save a way of life. If we keep letting global supply chains and monopolized markets dictate the rules, not just in beef, but across the board, we'll end up dependent on imports and corporate decisions made thousands of miles from the ranches and farms that built this country. That's a complaint that's existed since the Grange movement in the late 1800s, and it's still a problem today. So yes, the Trump beef import plan might sound good on paper. More beef, lower prices. But the truth is it sidesteps the root problem, corporate concentration. Until leaders in Washington tackle that head on, no amount of imported beef is going to fix what's broken. We need a level playing field, one where small farmers and ranchers can compete. Consumers can trust what they're buying, and the value of a good American steak stays in American hands. This is not going to happen in the current system. It's not going to happen under the new Trump plan. So if you believe real reform means strengthening American producers, not just importing around them, then I'm going to ask you to share this message. Talk about it, because this isn't just a farm and ranch issue. It's a food security issue, and it affects every one of us who sits down to dinner every night in this country to eat good quality American produced beef. I'm going to do a video in the near future about the differences in beef imports under Trump and under Biden, because rather than addressing the issue, some of the same characters in American farming and ranching are trying to make the argument that, well, beef imports were even higher in some cases under Joe Biden, so why are we complaining about it under Trump? We're complaining because there's a much different production environment in existence in the United States right now, and the imports have a heavier impact on that than they did under Biden as a result. We're not exporting as much beef, we're not producing as much beef, and because of that, these cheaper imports have a bigger impact. That video will come soon. Really appreciate you giving me the time to make this case, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Okay, elephant in the room. Everybody's talking about it. No, it's not Group 7. Trump and the cow market and bringing in Argentina beef. We're direct to consumers. We sell direct to consumer. We have no middlemen in what we do. We are our own preconditioners. We're on feed yard. We do everything. And our pricing structure has been set. It was set 2 years ago. We've been relatively the same the entire time, pretty consistent. And now prime beef in grocery stores has outrun us by $1.50 a pound, if you can find it in the grocery stores. Here, it's always prime. So what sucks for the American rancher is these ranchers that are still going, they've survived floods, they've survived droughts, they've survived wildfires, they've survived crappy cattle markets where you're just barely breaking even. And then trying to hand that down for the future generation and do things different and right. And you finally get a market where you can get ahead a little bit and do some things for the future. You've risked all that to stay in it, and you get a short reward, and then it's yanked out from under you. I understand the fear of that, and that's one of the biggest reasons we did what we did way back in 2016 before COVID ever even happened, was even a thought. And so it sucks for the American rancher if that is the case and what they really try to do. But at the same time, it may not be as much imports as what you think, and it's also not the ranchers are not the ones setting the prices. It's the big four packers. There's a conglomerate that's already paying out because they've been sued for price fixing. So let's start there. And but that's my take on it. We're still going to be here selling beef. So come see us at 830 West Commerce Street, Brownwood, Texas. You can check us out on www.essential-beef.com. And we do ship across the United States. So y'all have a good day. Eat Brown County beef.
So I live in an ultra-conservative MAGA community. I was raised to be ultra-conservative and MAGA, but our community was actually built on cattle ranchers. And yes, every single one of these cattle ranchers in my community have been diehard MAGA. So I want to read the letter that Trump wrote to them. To the cattle ranchers, who I love that I was able to hoodwink for their vote, they are too stupid to understand that the only reason that they could possibly have any success is because I, Donald J. Trump, taxed them and their consumers with the tariffs that I placed on foreign nations. In fact, if it weren't for me, they would have to go back to doing whatever it is that they were doing before the days of cattle ranching. But it would be nice if they understood that. But these cattle ranchers need to get their prices down, because the truth is, I never cared about America first or the American farmer. If you don't believe me, just look what I did to the soybean market. I just sent $40 billion to Argentina to influence their elections. So that's why you, the American farmer, cannot have health care. And to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, I read your response about how you cannot stand behind me. Well, I warned you, all you had to do was vote for me this one time, and that would be it. So thank you.
So here's what's happening. After loudly campaigning on America First, President Trump's administration just gave the green light for mass beef imports from Argentina, one of the biggest beef producing countries in the world. And who's hit the hardest by this? Yeah, the same MAGA cattle ranchers who fueled Trump's rallies, donated to his campaign, and probably believed he'd keep foreign competition out of the American market. Now, you can almost hear the collective mood of confusion echoing through the Midwest. Now, ranchers in Texas, Kansas, and Oklahoma are fuming, and not just because prices are dropping. They are realizing that imported beef means cheaper foreign competition, which drives down domestic cattle price and squeezes already struggling ranchers out of business. Now, the same people who wanted tariffs on everything foreign are now watching Argentinian beef flood American grocery stores, tariff-free. Now, the biggest question everyone's asking is why? Well, the administration's line is that importing beef from Argentina stabilizes price and ensures supply for consumers. Now, translation is, it's cheaper for big corporations, and it makes inflation numbers look better, at least on paper. But politically, it's a hard scratcher, or rather a head scratcher. Kind of hard head scratcher. Now, Trump built his brand on protecting American jobs and industries, especially in the agricultural heartland. But what we're seeing now looks a lot like a double cross. Now, he's basically telling US ranchers, thanks for the votes, guys, but business is business. And the irony, many of these same ranchers shared when Trump slapped tariffs on China and banned Mexican beef imports. Now, thinking they were being protected, now the global market they once feared is knocking on their brand door, wearing an Argentina hat and a smile. Now, this could have major ripple effects. For the American economy, it might lower beef prices at the supermarket, at least for now. But for rural America, this move could spell financial disaster. Now, thousands of small to mid-sized cattle operations have already been struggling with feed cuts, droughts, and shrinking profits margin. Add imported beef to the mix, and some ranchers could be forced out of business entirely. And once more ranchers close up shop, it's not just a family business that dies, it's a community. Now, the feed stores, equipment suppliers, and local banks all feel the heat. Meanwhile, giant meat packing corporations and foreign exporters make, bank. So while Trump's policies may be helping big businesses, they are crushing the little guy, the very people who helped put him in office. So here is where we are. MAGA cattle ranchers who believed in America first now have to compete with Argentina first beef. It's almost poetic, if it weren't so tragic. Now, the real question is, Will these ranchers finally realize that loyalty in politics doesn't pay the bills, or will they keep doubling down, hoping the man who imported foreign beef will somehow still be their champion? Let me know what you think in the comments. Should America focus on protecting its ranchers, or importing beef just smart business? Now, do you think Trump betrayed his own base with this move? And if you were one of these MAGA ranchers, would you still vote the same way again? Thank you for watching, folks. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, and please subscribe to the channel for more political breakdowns that cut through the noise. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your grill ready. I'll see you guys on my next video, and credit belongs to original creators. Thank you, guys.